was a gun.
I'm not voting.
If we want to build our nation.
The problem with the Somalians.
Just want to experience something else than a black man.
Move on, move
Be like
forward.
a horse with blinkers.
Honestly say, I was about to have sex
Corrupt
and then I pulled
crap,
up.
but it's nice.
My name is Joe Mthimka. I've been around the jazz music scene all of my life, having started collecting jazz records in the 60s from a gift that my uncle gave me when he noticed that I seemed to have a love for the music. And jazz, as has been the case in the rest of the world, and especially in the Americas, has been the story of the struggle, in a sense, because jazz music has always been associated with the struggles of people. This recording, Jazz Epistle, verse 1, was historically the first recording to be made of black jazz artists in South Africa. And if you look at the names who are here, some of them easily ring a bell. You have Kipi Moketsi, you have Hugh Masekela, you have Jonas Kwangwa, you have Tolle Brand, who's today known as Abdullah Ibrahim, you have Johnny Hetzer, who's passed away, and Makaya Nchoko. All right, now this was indeed the first recording made of black African music in South Africa. And some of these guys have gone on to become world-renowned artists. Black musicians were not allowed to perform at white clubs. And from the stories you would hear, there were instances when some club owners who were mostly sometimes from the Jewish community and were lovers of music would book black musicians, but also keep an eye at the door for the cops, because if the cops rushed in to come and raid the place, the black musician would have to duck into the kitchen or something and start washing dishes and look like the help instead of being the entertainer, because they would have been, the club owners would have been contravening a certain law. Before we get into excitement and enjoying ourselves, to just let you know what this afternoon is all about. You can't do one song and then walk off the stage. It's not decent. You do 2 songs at the least. You want 2 songs so we can get you in different feelings, and then you can walk off. You do 1 song, you can do 4. We don't mind. Please.
participate and become involved. Don't just vote because you like your councillor. Vote because you know what you want out of democracy. So all I'm saying, I'm invoking the spirit in all of us.
Without too much ado, I would like to introduce somebody who's very special. Ikamala Mapelo. Now some of you might know Mapelo. Mapelo is a special kind of person. Mapelo is a male who is in touch with his female body.
It's so lovely to see wonderful faces wanting to hear music.
Did you feel good? Are you feeling good, by the way? You make me feel good. You make me feel good in the heat of the night. You make me feel good any time of the day. I've gotta stay. I'm gonna stay. You make me feel good. So good. You make me feel good any time of the day. You make me feel good in the heat of the night. I've gotta stay.
I'm Joe Mthimka. I regard myself as a sort of a social activist because we always tend to wear different hats at different times.
My name is Tsukuru. I am a young entrepreneur, filmmaker. I live in Cape Town, South Africa. I'm originally from where we are, Gooks, but at the moment I'm living in the northern suburbs. These are my friends.
Oh, I'm Tando. I'm currently living in Guguletu and I'm a music producer.
This moment in time, the conversation I would like to start with these guys is what I hold dear. And there's been a lot of stuff written about it. Last week there was an article in the paper because I have this great desire to see ourselves starting to appreciate ourselves. I know how brilliant African culture and African wisdom is because I'm just one of those people who left school willingly, not because I was a dumb student, but because in my way of thinking I was way ahead of the system. As we used to call it then, it was the rat race. We were just getting polished up and primed to go and work in the machinery of the white supremos and the guys who were running our lives. And I just didn't want my mind stifled by going into law or being a professor or this or that. I'd like to keep my identity as innovative, and hence I pulled out of school. And I've been running, as you guys know, different projects at different times.
I mean, you're much older, you're probably twice as old as I am. And we're from totally different generations, but the fact that you also had the same inclining that you didn't want to go into like a cookie cutter factory where you're going to get turned out in a certain way. I also had the same thing. I always, even when you talk about history, I guess it was for me, it was instilled from an early age. I remember getting to school. I mean, I was lucky enough to go to private school. But I remember getting to school, and the first day they teach you with whatever, standard 1 sub A, whatever. They give you like history class, they give you like the national anthem, which was Die Stem back in those days, and the old South African flag, and they put that into your book, and then you're supposed to learn that. When I got home the first day, I was like, Mom, hey, look what I learned today. She looked at the very first page, ripped it out. Put the ANC flag there, and go see Sigelele.
South African history, black history, is only documented from a Eurocentric view. And if you ever were able to have your own TV station in the townships and guys educated to pick up stories, you would have more authentic news about the township than you get now. Because ETV probably ends up at the police station, and if they have to come do a run in Cooks, they have to get some cops first to go with them, and they're not always ready. But if we had the infrastructure here and we had the young guns who were able to shoot films and to shoot stories, we'd be able to make millions.
Yeah, there's a lot of stories here in the township that I keep realizing that haven't and won't be told. Like, for instance, you guys are into music a lot and like jazz. There's so many of the legends that are dying every day. I didn't know these guys were so prolific, that they had such influence on the whole genre. You know, as a South African, you don't know what your own we're not proud of our country because we don't know our history.
People like Begum Seleku, a genius, he has to go and die in London, because if he comes back to South Africa, even the people living down his street don't even realize what kind of an institution this person is, because we haven't been taught. And it's a residue of what happened with our oppression. It's a residue of that we haven't been taught to appreciate ourselves.
Even now, the whole cult of Mandela, you know, he's a great man and all that kind of thing, but they paint him to be like Superman, who was the guy. No one else was doing anything at the time. He's the guy who just went and cleaned everything up. So I don't know how he did it from a jail cell.
Don't you think, guys, the better way or the best way to tackle all this is to focus from the future, which is the young guys at present?
Problem with the young people from today, around today, they aren't so tuned into what is happening in the rest of the world. We're still living in the third world. I mean, how many internet cafes do you have in Cooks? I mean, I'm still being regarded as like a guru because I've been using a computer for 10 years. But for God's sake, I don't even have Facebook. I don't have this, and I'm still on dial-up. I'm being begged to take on ADSL. I'm thinking about it now. But everybody else thinks, oh, wow, he's so tuned in. And yet, today's kids, I mean, if you watch what I saw on TV last night, that the kids are now tuned into doing such naughty things, pornography, and they have cams on there. They can like send out images of themselves in their rooms doing stuff. I mean, that is such great technology if it could be used effectively. But you have to educate and make it available.
But locally, Joe, you'll find out that there are people with ideas.
Yeah.
But the thing is, they don't know where to start.
There's always a way to start. There's always a place to start. But the problem is politically, especially the Western Cape. The Western Cape has got a massive problem. Because society in the Western Cape is still divided Initially, in the 30s and 40s, Cape Town had the most cosmopolitan community. In District 6 and in Maitland, in all those areas that we were born, people were living together. I have more white friends that I like than I have black friends. But because now we are fragmented, according to those lines that were drawn up, which still exist, the perceptions still exist. Not too many people come into Cooks who live in Camps Bay or who live in Fishhook. But there are people coming into Cooks from Ireland, from Germany, because they don't understand those perceptions. And this is what we have to try and do. Make people aware that these are people living here. And they can tell their own stories. And then create a business out of it. Some of us easily become cynical. Most people become cynical. You have a story now doing the rounds that most people are not going to vote. And I mean, that for me is criminal. How can you, on your fourth occasion of ever having been given the vote, you don't even understand yet what your Bill of Rights means for you. You do not, and then you become disenchanted because your leadership is not doing enough to educate the people, and your leadership is being seen as corrupt, and now you withhold your vote. That could be dangerous.
But
because
who do you vote for? I mean,
you see, there should be voter education.
I see it happening with the young generation, and I see it also happening with stalwarts. You know, I mean, people that I'm around that I know, they're just so disillusioned. I mean, they've been in, let's say the ruling party, people I know who've been intrinsically involved in the ruling party and who've been
ignored
to jail because of because they were a member of, the ruling party back then. Now they're not so sure, I mean, I hear there's a movement going on now where they'll actually spoil their votes. There's a movement where they'll spoil their ballots, not just like not writing it, but writing a message, the same message across the ballot paper. So everybody's going to spoil their papers in the exact same way. So there's the young people and the stalwarts who are very disillusioned.
I have a problem with that. I believe that if you have a vote, if we know and understand what democracy is about, we should be voting for what we want to happen.
But where does that
We should be
work?
putting our vote where or with the people that we know can make a difference.
So there's no
and
one
if
there.
the ruling party cannot do that, what's to stop us from having another party? Why can't we, like the Americans do, manufacture a president from someone we can trust, somebody? That's how politics work.
When you go back,
Most presidents are made.
It's a flux. I mean, for me as a young person, the NC is great. They did a lot, but they had their time, They were a revolutionary organization. They freed us, but that was their job. At the moment now, they're going through too much flux. I don't know who to believe in, whose story is right. They, even as a whole, as an organization, I don't know how they could not have predicted the situation.
In the Western Cape, they have the worst scenario. The leadership in the Western Cape can't even keep the members who are within the party. They have a big split with people in Karicha, which happened 5 years ago in '99. And now, just on the eve of this election, they're having problems with the guys in power, the Boland area. And what does that do? It just drives shafts amongst people. The leadership is not clever enough, I think.
What happened to the whole planning? Because everything was planned back in the days, Each new successive leader was groomed from a young early age. I mean, what happened? There's no one else to...
Other things have started happening. There's like the big arms deal. There is tenders. You see, corruption is something that nobody, too few people can avoid or can stave off being corrupted. And the exact people who taught us to govern are the exact people who taught us how corruption works. And then later, as there is the story, as you can see, later there's been a trend of making them eat, and then after a while, if they don't toe the line or do what they're being told to do, and then suddenly there needs to be an inquiry, and then they get upended and they're off to jail because They didn't follow the master's voice. Before the advent of democracy, I was cynical. I never thought we'd ever upstage the Boeremacht. I thought we don't have a chance in hell. And I was so adept at beating the system in my own way. You know, I used to survive without carrying a pass. I used to sell liquor when it was taboo to sell it. I used to do anything to make money. But when the new dispensation came, I changed my focus because I was caught aback and I had to change my stance. I had to realize that it's not entirely complete, this freedom, but if you work at it, it could probably work out for the betterment of society.
So tell me, Bro Joe, which ways can we use in order to beat the system? Not to try to...
It's our system now.
We can't beat the system anymore, so we're supposed to be embracing it.
It's like Zuma and them trying to make the judges see things the way they want them to see them. When you listen to the judgment of the judge, you can see, you can feel that he's been influenced somehow by what he's reading in the press and never mind what he's saying on the legal context, but you can tell he's also been influenced by the fact that there has been political interference. So life is like that. You can have all the rules you want, but we all interpret them differently.
Yeah, I don't think it's cynicism. I mean, we're not any more blinded to the reality out there. We know, at least I can speak for myself, we know the dangers, the pitfalls to look out for out there, and we know how difficult they are to avoid. You can't not be optimistic, otherwise you might as well go and commit suicide.
What I would like to finish off with is, you're talking to an 18-year-old. They have to try and learn and understand that information is power. And when you understand yourself and what you are on earth to achieve or what your goal should be, and if it is all for the betterment of yourself, your community, and your brethren, it will always work. But we actually reap what we sow. If you delve in crazy stuff, that's what you're going to get out of it. If you sprinkle a little bit of goodness here and there, and you try and treat people the way you'd like to be treated, then you have a chance.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Shouldn't be self-centered and try and achieve because you want. Are you doing it for your mom, for your parents, for your younger brother? If that what you're doing is to make sure your younger brother doesn't face the same problems you are faced with.
My dream is wealth, health, happiness, love, and success.
My dream is too big because I'm not living for myself, I'm living for my skin. So I'd like to see my skin smiling at the end of the day, no matter what happens. But at the end of the day, at the end of the tunnel, there must be a light.
My personal vision is to be able to someday sit at Royal Albert Hall and watch my granddaughter dance, because that's what she does best. And to have the Queen call me up and shake my hand and say, "Sir, you have a great talent there. Look after it." And that's my dream.